Three things about this week. First of all, this week is full of really different messages and different themes and different vibes. They actually don't go together at all. So I just want to lay that on the table. But first off, we have a very upsetting situation. There is something that is disturbing, it is loud, and it is definitely unsettling. We don't know who it will be unsettling for, but there's definitely something here that is about a systems update, if you will. That's how we start the week. Number two, midweek, we have something that is very grounding and nurturing and inviting us back into our body to hunker down and meet our own needs and like the most practical needs that we have in our life, like food and water and rest. And then three, we end the week with some messy messages, half text, didn't mean to send the email. So there's one other thing that I want you to know, and that is that we have 12 all new sleep stories. Listen, if you've done the breakthrough course, you know how obsessed I am with good quality sleep. I don't even set an alarm. Personally, since COVID, I have not set an alarm. And that's not because I shouldn't, quote unquote, get up earlier than I do. It's because I believe every single moment of sleep is so deeply needed for my entire vessel, my brain, my body, my soul, everything. Like if I don't sleep well, my brain doesn't work well, and then I am useless throughout the day. So sleep is like my number one. I listen to things before I go to sleep or as I'm going to sleep or to put me back to sleep when I wake up in the middle of the night, as I do so often now, especially at this age. And because of that, I know what it's like to need something to listen to. So what we did is we recorded 12 new sleep stories, all based on the 12 different zodiac signs. So I take you on a journey to the temple of each sign, and we go through the properties and the feelings and the qualities of each sign. And I hope you get the best sleep as a result. Hello and welcome. This is the Astrology of the Week Ahead podcast. I'm your host, your astro bestie, Chani Nicholas. And in this episode, we are talking about the week of November 3rd, the very active, the very exciting, the very disruptive, and yes, the very chaotic week of November 3rd. Obviously, I think it's obvious, we end the week with a Mercury retrograde. So we know everything in terms of communication and in terms of counting things like ballots is a little bit wonky. My hope is that there are clear, clean, decisive measures taken at the beginning of the week so that the end of the week's Mercury retrograde doesn't impact things we might be doing on, November 4th. But on November 4th, on Tuesday, we have one of the most disruptive signatures. It is Mars, the planet of mayhem, the planet of making a scene, the planet of courage, the planet of taking action, and our direction and our fight is making opposition with Uranus, the planet of disruption and the planet of chaos and the planet of unexpected twists and turns. So when these two get together in a tense aspect, like an opposition, think of an opposition like you and I are at odds. We're at different ends of the same spectrum, but there is this tautness. Now it can be like a teeter-totter. We can find a balance. One side could win, the other side could take over. We're not really sure how it's going to go. And with these two planets that are so like accident prone and chaotic in this tug of war, in this point of tension, we know that there is going to be something that feels like a break from the norm because Uranus does things differently. Uranus is like, I don't know, let's experiment with this. Let's try it this way. And Mars also has a similar kind of vibe because Mars goes it alone. Mars just kind of goes rogue. Mars just goes its own way. Mars doesn't really care about how things are normally done. Mars cares about what it wants to do. Or when Mars is in charge, people, situations are more likely to go in a different direction or in a new direction or in a direction that is kind of like, well, there's only a couple of us, but here we go. So perhaps the events of November 4th will mark a drastic departure from what has become entrenched and what has become known as reality, or known as this is how we do things, or known as a tradition. This is a signature of moving in a different direction, and in an extremely different direction. So that's how we begin the week. We begin the week with a big disruption. Now, when I see really disruptive astrology, I want to do things that are innovative. I want to do things that are disruptive on purpose. I want to be a rebel with a cause, as corny as that is. But you want to do something with a specific intention, and then you want to align your actions with that intention and be like, yes, I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be noisy. I'm going to be canvassing. I'm going to be phone banking. I'm going to be on the street. I'm going to be talking to people. I'm going to have the hard conversations. Come what may, this is the conversation that I want to have, or this is the action I'm going to take. And it is going to be disruptive. It is going to go against the grain. Some people are going to love it because they love that kind of flair, and some people are going to hate it because they want everything to stay the same. And sucks to be you, but this is what I'm going to do. That's how I try to use disruptive astrology. And if you're somebody who has like a streak of rebellion in you, especially like in your chart, if Uranus is in the 1st or 4th or 7th or 10th house, go pull up your chart on the Chani app, look at the Me tab, and see if you have Uranus in one of these angular houses, or if you have Uranus next to your sun, next to your moon, next to the ruler of your ascendant. These are marks that, you're pretty good with disruption. Or if Uranus is like squaring your moon or squaring your sun or squaring the ruler of your ascendant, these are marks of like, yeah, I'm good with that energy. I like it. And I do tend to find like I do better than maybe other people under signatures that I have. You will do better than other people under signatures you normally have, you just naturally have in your chart. So it's good to kind of know like, oh yeah, I've got that in my chart actually. And now that I'm thinking about it, I do have a very significant Uranus opposition, not to my Mars, but to another planet. So I have that built-in tension in me, as you could maybe tell sometimes. Being loud and irritating to some people is just a natural talent that I have. But there's that feeling of like, okay, this is noisy. This is a week that wants us to be disruptive, or at least it comes in with that kind of energy. We want to break from, again, what has been calcified or entrenched or has become status quo or normal. That's the kind of energy it brings. And we want to be like cautious around things that are like, oh, that looks like it. That could be dangerous, right? It's Mars. Mars is like a sword or a weapon or a blade, and Uranus is tumultuous. And so when we go through that kind of turbulence, we just want to make sure like my weapon is in its sheath and it's tucked away inside like everything's put away, because I don't want things flying about the cabin, as I like to say, when Uranus is involved, to the best of our ability. And look, Tuesday could come and go, and everything could go as planned, and everything could be easy peasy and smooth sailing. And, the results of that could be like, okay, a whole new thing has opened up for us now. All gods and goddesses willing. A new portal opens up for us on November 4th and gives us, and honestly, people across the world, some hope. Obviously, I'm talking about Zoran and his run for mayor for New York. Vote Mamdani. Thank you so much. Okay, so there's that piece of it. Obviously, I'm connecting the two things. Obviously, not everybody lives in New York. I don't know why, but you don't. So it's not like our mayoral race will impact you directly, but I do think our mayoral race will impact you in some way that might even be direct, but it definitely will be indirect, because this campaign is an incredible thing to have been a part of. This campaign is an incredible account of what is possible when people come together, because this campaign is really about the canvassers and the volunteers and the coalition of people that have built it. So it's not about one person. It is definitely about what is possible when we demand the best for working class people, for working families, and vote along those lines. Okay, so that's how we start the week. And then on Wednesday, we've got a full moon in Taurus. And the full moon in Taurus is actually really nice. Like, yes, it's happening right after some disruptive astrology, but by Wednesday, we have this very calming influence. On one hand, it is a moment of like peak experience. So it does feel like Wednesday we are celebrating something. It does feel like Wednesday is like it's over. We did it. There's like, okay, we've come to the end of this thing. It's the peak moment. This is the moment in the lunar cycle that's like, this is the result. And it's like Tuesday, something disruptive happens, and Wednesday, we get the result. And Wednesday is also really good for being like, okay, all that exciting stuff just happened. What do you need to do to take care of yourself? What do you need to do to take care of your body? One thing that's important to remember about the moon in your chart, and when, lunar things happen in the sky, is that the moon represents our body. It represents fortune. It represents the material realm. It represents, yes, our emotions and our feelings, but also like the ebbs and flows and the tides that happen in our body. We don't need the same thing every day. We don't need the same thing in winter as we do in summer. Like I always say this, but what season is it? What do you need to give yourself in this moment? And because the moon is exalted, which means it does really well in Taurus, this speaks to things that help us to feel safe and nourished and grounded and at home and cozy. And we got our snacks and we got like all the things that make us feel, I don't know how to say that word. I always want to say higgy, but I know that that's not the word. That word, you know what I'm saying? Is it Swedish? It's the word that's like, ooh, cozy winter vibes. That's the kind of feeling that this full moon brings with it. This is going to be a super moon, so it's going to look really big. Again, the results of whatever it is we just did will be in, and Wednesday will be ruminating in them. And I'm hoping that because it looks like a really good lunation, that it feels like, oh, we built this, we did this. That's part of the magic of Taurus and anything that happens in Taurus is it's steadfast. It does what is long lasting. It's productive and it's grounding. Like if we are going to build a home, we don't want to build it out of twigs. We want to build it out of mud. We want to build it out of like something that's going to stay for a long time. I don't know if mud's going to stay for a long time, but you know what I mean? Like some eco-friendly structure that's going to last forever, that doesn't have a footprint, all the stuff. We want to have a home that feels like it's solid, it's sturdy, I can rest here, I can be nourished here. This is also called the beaver moon. So this is the moon where we're like evoking images of beavers building their dams. So there is this kind of like home feeling to it. It is the groundedness that is needed and necessary after so much output, after so much excitement, after so much upheaval, after so much going on. I did forget to say that on Monday, Mars makes a trine to Neptune. So Monday actually has this really lovely motivational energy to it, just as Mars is ending its time in Scorpio. It's like, okay, this is our strategy. This is our last moment to get our strategy in. This is the ideal. This is how we're bridging our actions towards our ideal. This is how we're moving towards our ideal strategically, maybe even stealthily. And then on Tuesday, it moves into Sagittarius. So there is that transition between Scorpio to Sagittarius that Mars does. So we're moving in secret to like moving out into the world in a really loud way, because fire signs, AKA Sagittarius, they move, they want you to see them when they move. Like they move with velocity and a lot of volume. There's like the volume's on high. So we go from this like quieter, more strategic, again, very idealistic, like let's go this way, to on Tuesday, like, let's go. And it is loud and it is disruptive because Mars then meets Uranus. Okay, that's Tuesday. That's Monday. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, we got the full moon. boom, we've peaked. Hey, let's rest. Let's eat snacks. Let's cuddle together. Then on Thursday, we've got more Mars movement. Mars then makes a sextile to Pluto, which is wonderful for gathering collective power. It's wonderful for moving in ways that are also transformative. And then Venus moves in to Scorpio. So one planet leaves Scorpio, another enters Scorpio. Venus has a harder time in Scorpio than it does in Libra. It's leaving its home sign and it's moving into its place of exile. So it literally feels exiled. So it does look like we have a little bit more of a struggle as it comes to Thursday. There's just like a feeling of like, okay, the full moon's over, the party's over. Coming into contact with things that are easy and pleasurable and delightful might become a little bit more challenging, but what we're interested in is real and deep and raw connections. And that just gets amplified on Friday when Venus makes a square to Pluto. On Friday, we have encounters with our deepest intimacy issues. On Friday, we encounter our core beliefs about if we are lovable or not. On Friday, we need to do a little bit of reflection about how we are showing up in relationship and how we want to show up in relationship. Also on Friday, we return back to something we were doing up until about July. So on Friday, Uranus moves back into Taurus. And we're going back to something we put down again around July. We were working on something, we were doing something else started to happen over July, August, September, October, but now we got to go back. We're circling back and we're like, hold on, what did I not finish here? What do I need to put the finishing touches on? These are the last couple of months that Uranus will be in Taurus. I do expect for there to be some kind of financial thing in the world. And some kind of financial thing is absolutely way too vague of me to say, but there's often something about cryptocurrency that is connected with these major Uranus transits, and Uranus changing signs I would consider to be a major transit. So if there's some kind of cryptocurrency scam, something in the stock market, some bumpy business because of a handful of men that are very greedy, I wouldn't be shocked because Taurus, again, deals with the material realm. Uranus is an upset or a change or a different way to do material life. And so there's something that we're returning back to collectively about that, but also personally in our own lives, in our chart. Where is Taurus in your chart? Go listen to your weekly reading to find out what you are returning to. And of course, Wednesday's full moon is in Taurus, and then Uranus moves back into Taurus. So there's these two big things that are happening in the part of your chart that contains Taurus. So I need you to know what house that is. Please go listen to your reading because the full moon is amplifying something in this part of your chart, but then Uranus is moving back here to amplify something that is the same in nature or something else in this area of your life. It's like two big things come into the same room this week, full moon and Uranus. Like, oh, wow, it's a lot of personality in one space in my life. Yikes. It's not bad, but it's going to be pronounced. So where is Taurus in your chart? What house is it in? What is that house about? And what are you being asked to focus on, to witness, to cultivate an awareness of? And then on Sunday, we'll notice this all week, but on Sunday, officially, we are in messy communication mayhem moments, one after the other, at least until November 19th-ish. So the next 10 days from November 9th, I'm going to just go ahead and say all the way to November 20th, we're in some kind of gauntlet. Like we have some work to do. And this is the work we need to do over these next few days in November. We need to understand what isn't working in our life. And we need to say, got it, heard it. I noticed that was cracking. I noticed that wasn't working. I thought you said you were going to text me and then you never text me and you never called. And I thought that was weird. So I checked in. I am going to follow my gut instincts and double, triple check everything because Mercury is very retrograde from November 9th all the way to the 29th. But there's different pockets of time within this Mercury retrograde. The first 10 days of it are kind of gross, to be honest. And the last little bit of it aren't. So I just want us to know that. But Mercury's stationing retrograde in the sign of its exile or detriment. So it's already opposite of what it's supposed to be, and then it retrogrades. So imagine you're walking backwards, and then you have to walk backwards at an angle, or you have to walk backwards without one of your senses. You have to walk backwards in a way that's like, this is already disorienting, and then it's going to further disorient me. And if you let me carry that motif just one step further, it's in that disorientation that you get to see what doesn't work, or you get to understand what isn't working because you're forced to, right? I'm not going to notice something that I would notice if I was having to move backwards through a room, or if I was having to come at it from a different angle. So Mercury retrograde always exposes things that you wouldn't normally see because you're like, oh, that thing, why is that thing there? Wait, let me see. What is that? Oh, wait, how'd this happen? Wait, what did you say? But you said you were going to do it this way. No, you said it was going to be that way. Hold on, I thought we agreed to do it this way. And then you start to just peel one layer after another, and you get down to the root of the problem. But generally what I notice is that it takes a lot of the retrograde to get down to the issue. All that to be said, November 9th to about the 20th is going to be bumpy. It's going to be especially messy from November 9th until the 18th. On the 18th, Mercury will move back into Scorpio. It won't be as messy, but Mercury will then oppose Uranus, and it'll be still bumpy. It'll be a kind of revelation though. And we'll get a tremendous amount of clarity on the 19th and the 20th. Circle November 20th in your date book, in your calendar. If you have the Astro Planner, then it's in here already. It says the Mercury Cazimi on the 20th, and that is actually a really good day. And it's a day of maybe shocking clarity, but it will be about clarity. That's the best day in the Mercury retrograde cycle. So we're in it now, my friends, and it's going to be a little like tall tales and a little wild for the first 10 days of it. So if we just know that going in, if we just know okay, I'm looking for things that don't work. I'm looking for things that are about to break. I'm looking for the things that I have missed until this moment. That's the thing. It's Mercury retrograde has this reputation for being so confusing and having emails go missing and all of that, which totally true. But the process of going through it, I find, is always harrowing, maybe, yes, but exceptionally clarifying. And then I just want to say that Mercury stations direct in a really lovely way. It stations direct as it trines Jupiter and as it trines Saturn and as it makes a conjunction with Venus. So by the end of the month, it's stationing direct in a really lovely way. And Venus and Jupiter are also making a trine on the 26th. So it's it's not all bad. I just want us to be exceptionally conscientious of these next couple of days. And, next week, especially as Mercury and Mars make a conjunction on the 12th of November. Okay, now we're ready for the Ask Me Anything part of the show. Listen, you can now leave me a question via a voice memo. Just go into the Chani app, click on the menu, and then click on the little submit a question, and it's right there. And you can just leave me a little voice memo, and I can hear your cute voice, and I can talk to you. Almost. Okay, so here's our question for this week.
Hello. I was curious about Mercury retrogrades. I feel like oftentimes they're positive times for me, even if tech is a bit weird or what have you. I feel like there's a lot of good things that end up happening to me in Mercury retrogrades. And for reference, I am a Scorpio, and I'm pretty sure my birthday generally falls in a Mercury retrograde. So I guess I'm curious if that's a thing, if there's something to that to know.
This is great. Can you please spread the word? I'd love to know like why Mercury retrogrades are often good for you. I do hear people say this. Maybe because you're a Scorpio, you just have a lot of tenacity and resilience, and you're like, this isn't so bad. We can get through this. Or maybe there's some other reason. I don't know. We'd have to look at your chart and look at each Mercury retrograde. But if you generally like Mercury retrogrades, I think like that's just good for you. Congratulations. Pray for the rest of us that have a difficult time. I used to really, and I've said this before, but I used to really be like, Mercury retrogrades aren't that bad. Everyone's making such a big deal of them. And I do think that we do. We make such a big deal of them and we blame everything. Like it just becomes this kitchen sink. Is that the right way to say that? It just becomes a catch-all for everything. We put everything and the kitchen sink into the Mercury retrograde bucket. And that's not how it works. That's not a good use of astrology. I mean, go ahead, do your thing, but it's not the meaning of Mercury retrograde. Yes, like tech issues. I mean, we often have kind of hilarious app malfunctions. I'm knocking on wood because I don't mean the Chani app. Please. Twitter has had really funny malfunctions. Instagram has had, like all those kind of like big platforms have had some pretty funny, pretty exact, like, oh, our system just doesn't work for the moment on days where like Mercury station's retrograde or direct. So there's those things, and those definitely you can kind of see in your own life. But it's really about where in your chart this Mercury retrograde is happening and what needs to be connected with in that part of your life. Because if you think of it being a return or a review, it's like, okay, well, for you personally at this time, what needs to be returned to? Or what do you need to retrieve from this area of your life? Like, what have you given too much of? What have you overgiven in this area of your life? And what do you need to kind of come back to? So it's always a good time for like renewal and return of something. Usually it's some part of our energy, or again, some part of our system that was never working in the first place. I'm just always so, floored by the amount I learn each and every Mercury retrograde. So maybe if you have a good time during Mercury retrogrades, you're just like an excellent student. And again, can you please help the rest of us? If you're doing well during a Mercury retrograde, throw a girl a life raft. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you have any extra snacks? Do you have some more water? Like, help us out. Help us out, because there's definitely those of us that struggle through them. And hopefully I'm totally wrong. Hopefully the whole thing is smooth sailing and there's nothing to report. Hopefully you and I can be like, that was fine. I mean, I want nothing more. But another thing that you said that I just wanted to clarify is that you felt like Mercury often retrogrades through Scorpio. Usually what happens during the year is Mercury will retrograde in the same elements, or it always retrogrades in the same elements. So sometimes it'll be like this time it's like fire back into water. I think last year it was, or next year it's all water sign, and then it will change and it'll go to like, so there'll be like all earth or all air, or so there'll be pockets of time where you notice like, oh, there's a lot of Mercury retrogrades in my sign, but it will shift and it'll go back to a different element. And then it'll be a new sign's, turn to have a couple of rounds of it, at least feeling like, oh, didn't we have one in this sign last year, at least in part. So that's the deal for that. They're not always in Scorpio. But there's this kind of like, there's this flow, there's this rhythm in the ways in which the Mercury retrogrades happen. And maybe there's something to the fact that perhaps you have a very strong Mercury. So, I mean, I can't say that. I have a really strong Mercury, and some Mercury retrogrades are really good. But I also have a Mercury ruled business. You know what I mean? Like, I have a business that is about communications. It is a piece of technology. You're literally listening to me either on my app or on another app. Like, I do Mercury things all the time. So maybe that's why it feels extra weighty for me since I've moved more into this kind of position. Okay, I think that's enough about Mercury retrograde. But I love that you have a good time with them. And I love anybody who has a good time with them. And I think maybe you're just extra good at being introspective or reviewing things or being kind of like open to things going back and forth and things not working out in the ways that they need to, perhaps. Or maybe you just feel like totally unaffected by them. And in that case, again, thank God some of us are totally unaffected by them because the rest of us need help. All right, y'all, come back next week. We'll talk about that one little tough spot with the Mercury-Mars conjunction on the 12th, but it's surrounded by some really supportive, really like good astrology, or at least astrology that's pointing to what is expansive and what is abundant and what is going to refill our cups. So come back and we'll talk more about that then. Until next time, I hope I see you and we're celebrating, sending all of the love, all of the blessings, all of the gratitude for all of the work that you do, that we do, that all of us do together. Bye for now.